Hey everyone, welcome to my guide on Greater Demons. Greater Demons are a pretty simple monster. They only use melee, so using Protect melee negates their damage. Or you can wear armor with high/defense like Justiciar or Barrows to lower its accuracy. We're covering 6 locations in this video, but there's a few caveats we have to talk about. If you're going to the Brimhaven dungeon, you'll need to bring the dungeon fee. If you're using the north entrance with Sanabach, you have to bring an axe and 875 coins. If you're using the south entrance with Banisach, you have to bring an axe, an anti-dragon shield, and a one-time payment of 5k trading sticks. For the Catacombs of Kourend, you don't want to wear a melee defense setup because it's multi. It's much better to use Protect melee or use a safe spot. If you're planning to go to the Karuulm Slayer dungeon, you must wear Karuulm boots, which I've listed all of them here. If you're going to any of the wilderness locations, you want to bring as little risk as possible, and we'll go over wilderness setups later in the video. Before we move on to the next section, pick your location, place a cannon in your inventory if your location allows it, and I highly recommend dealing with the location caveats now and withdraw any necessary items you need in your inventory. Also, feel free to adjust your rune light settings now. Let's move on to armor setups. Below, you can see how I ranked the gear setups, a list of Demon Bane weapons, as well as useful items you can bring for your Slayer task. For ranged, I created 3 hypothetical setups, and you can see the DPS difference between the 3 as well as the armor and inventory costs. Out of all the Demon Bane weapons, Scorching Bow is consistently the best for killing demons. Pair it with ranged strength armor, and instead of accuracy items like Pegasians or Archer's Ring, swap them with prayer items like Devout Boots and Ring of the Gods, and use better prayers like Rigor or Eagle Eye. If you need alternatives, I made a rank list for ranged, so you have more choices for customizing your setup. For melee setups, Demon Bane weapons like the Emberlight and Arclight pair extremely well with high strength bonus. If you're lower level, you can add in some prayer items to help balance your setup. Melee defense is going to give you slightly lower DPS, but you save a lot in prayer pots, and you can use things like Guthans or the Sarah God sword to reduce the food cost. If you need alternatives, I made a rank list for melee so you have more choices for customizing your setup. For magic, you have a few options. Purging Staff with the Dark Demon Bane and Mark of Darkness spell is now really good against greater demons. The Twin Flame Staff with Water Wave is also pretty good because of the Greater Demon's 50% water weakness. You can also use any staff with your best water spell and Tome of Water, and it still works pretty well. If you need alternatives, I made a rank list for magic so you have more choices for customizing your setup. And just quickly going over wilderness setups, but I highly recommend reading the notes below so you can protect yourself against PKers. I made 3 hypothetical setups, and you can see all 3 focus on 3 valuables, usually the weapon, the helmet, and 1 more item. You can see all 3 setups risk less than 20k, and you can still get some fantastic DPS from these setups. Here are alternatives for a wilderness range setup. Focus on 3 valuables, then the rest welfare. For arrows, don't bring more than 500. For knives or darts, don't bring more than 1500. If you're worried about PKers, you can always bring less and do multiple trips. Here are alternatives for a wilderness melee setup. Normal weapons are typically better than the Emberlight and Arclight because those weapons rely on strength bonus. If you're using wilderness weapons, you're risking a few 100k if you get PK'd, so it's up to you. And here are alternatives for a wilderness magic setup. For spells, don't bring more than 1500 casts. If you're worried about being PK'd, you can always bring less and do multiple trips. All of these gear setups come straight from the No BS OSRS calculator, a tool that lets you test any item in the game against any monster. Other DPS calculators can be frustrating to use. With the No BS calculator, you're able to create up to 3 setups simultaneously and see DPS comparisons in real time. It also includes grand exchange prices for better budgeting, access to thousands of teleport maps which tell you the quickest way to a monster, as well as an inventory builder which suggests untradables for a Slayer task, and potion and resource estimates to make inventory building a breeze. And best of all, no useless information. Weapons, monsters, setups, everything you need with no BS. If you want to check it out, click the link in the description box below to find out more. We're now going over each location. When you choose your travel method, you can put the teleport items in your inventory, and you can also use the timestamps in the video player to skip to your desired location. There are 2 entrances to the Brimhaven dungeon, and both of them are about the same distance to the Greater Demons. But be careful, wear an anti-dragon shield before going down the Banisach entrance. One of the fastest teleports is using a Bow one-eye teleport and run west. You can also use a Brimhaven House teleport, or use the fairy ring code CKR. Once you enter any of the entrances, we have to get to these stairs to access the Greater Demons. So here are some example inventory setups. Anything in yellow is an optional item you can bring. And here is how I would set up my quick prayers, and feel free to adjust them to your preference. So here is the in-game example for the Brimhaven dungeon. I'm using the north entrance with Sandboch, so let's pay the 875 coin entrance fee, then run west, chop the vines to go through, take the northwestern path, jump from the stepping stones to cross, then run south, climb the stairs, then go ahead and turn on your quick prayers and drop your cannon down a little bit south. Drink your stat boosting potions, have auto retaliate on, click the cannon so it's firing, and you can high alch or drop your axe to save inventory space. If you're safe spotting with ranged or magic, you can stand on the tile I marked to get the Greater Demon stuck. Now let's go over the Catacombs of Kourend. One of the fastest teleports is by using the Kourend Castle teleport. You can also use a Xeric's Talisman to teleport to Xeric's Heart. You can also use a minecart to Hortle, or you can use the Carrots, Memoirs, or Book of the Dead to the lunch by the Lancaliums. Once you get there, you need to investigate the statue to enter the catacombs. Once you're inside, you want to go this way to the Greater Demons. This spot is the best because there are 4 Greater Demons. If you're safe spotting, stand in any of the corridors to get them stuck. So here are some example inventory setups. Anything in yellow is an optional item you can bring. And here is how I would set up my quick prayers, and feel free to adjust them to your preference. So here is the in-game example for the Catacombs of Kourend. Let's investigate the statue to climb down. Let's run north, then east past the Hill Giants and Bloodvelds, and the Greater Demons are just north of the Necriels, so turn on your quick prayers, drink your stat boosting potions, have auto retaliate on, and watch your prayer points for when they get low. If you're safe spotting with ranged or magic, you can stand on the tile I marked to get the Greater Demon stuck. Now let's go over the Chasm of Fire. The fastest way to get there is by using the fairy ring code DJR and running northwest. You can also use the Carrots, Memoirs, or Book of the Dead to History and Hearsay, or you can use a minecart to Hatna. Once inside, you'll be right over here. We want to use Protect Melee and use the Northern Ladder, and the Greater Demons are all on the middle level. So here are some example inventory setups. Anything in yellow is an optional item you can bring. And here is how I would set up my quick prayers, and feel free to adjust them to your preference. So here is the in-game example for the Chasm of Fire. Let's turn on Protect Melee manually and enter the chasm. Then run north and enter the lift. And then I like to kill the ones just a little bit southwest. But drop down your cannon, turn on your quick prayers, drink your stat boosting potions, have auto retaliate on, click the cannon so it's firing, and watch your prayer points for when they get low. If you're safe spotting, there's an amazing spot just south of the lift where not only can you get Greater Demons stuck, but you can also use a cannon at the same time. Now let's go over the Isle of Souls dungeon. The fastest way to get there is using the fairy ring code BJP and running southeast. You can also use the grouping teleport to Soul Wars, or use any Edgeville teleport and enter the Soul Wars portal that's south of the Edgeville Bank. Once you enter the dungeon, you'll be right over here, and the Greater Demons are located in the northeastern room. So here are some example inventory setups. Anything in yellow is an optional item you can bring. And here is how I would set up my quick prayers, and feel free to adjust them to your preference. So here is the in-game example for the Isle of Souls dungeon. Let's go in, and we want to run directly northeast. Turn on your quick prayers, and we want to be more on the right side to avoid the lesser demons. But go ahead and drop down your cannon, drink your stat boosting potions, have auto retaliate on, click the cannon so it's firing, and watch your prayer points for when they get low. If you're safe spotting with ranged or magic, you can stand on the tile I marked to get the Greater Demon stuck. Now let's go over the Karuulm Slayer dungeon. Remember to wear the Karuulm boots, which we talked about at the beginning of the video. The fastest way to get here is by using Rada's Blessing 3 or 4 to mount Karuulm. You can also use a fairy ring to CIR and go north. You can also use a Battlefront teleport, or by using a skills necklace to the farming guild and running north. Once you use the lift to get in the dungeon, you'll be right here at the entrance. You want to go this way and use the steps to the first floor, then run directly west to the Greater Demon's room. So here are some example inventory setups. Anything in yellow is an optional item you can bring. And here is how I would set up my quick prayers, and feel free to adjust them to your preference. So here is the in-game example for the Karuulm Slayer dungeon. Let's activate the elevator to enter. Then run north, climb the rocks, then use the steps to the east. Then run directly west, you can turn on your quick prayers when you get close. And we can drop the cannon anywhere in the middle of the room. Drink your stat boosting potions, have auto retaliate on, click the cannon so it's firing, and watch your prayer points for when they get low. If you're safe spotting with ranged or magic, you can stand on the tile I marked to get the Greater Demon stuck. Now let's go over the Wilderness Slayer cave. There are two entrances you can use, but the best one is the 30 Wilderness one. One of the best teleports you can use is a burning amulet to the Chaos Temple and running northeast. You can also use a Wilderness Obelisk if you have the Hard Diary completed. You can also use a Game's Necklace to Corporeal Beast and exit the cave. You can also use a Ring of Dueling to the Ferox Enclave, or you could use the Grouping Teleport to either Last Man Standing or Clan Wars. When you go in, you want to run directly east to the Greater Demon's room. So here are some example inventory setups. Anything in yellow is an optional item you can bring. And here is how I would set up my quick prayers, and feel free to adjust them to your preference. So here is the in-game example for the Wilderness Slayer cave. I highly recommend turning on player indicators on Runelight and having highlight others enabled so you can see if there are any PKers on your minimap. Let's go in and run directly east, turn on protect melee and a stat boosting prayer manually, and go ahead and drop down your cannon, drink your stat boosting potions, have auto retaliate on, click the cannon so it's firing, and hover over your one-click teleport, and if you see any red text on your minimap, teleport out. If you're safe spotting with ranged or magic, you can stand on the tile I marked to get the Greater Demon stuck. And that's everything. If you found the video helpful, please leave it a like and let me know in the comments what monsters you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching.